Okay, so my name's alanrides. I'm at the bottom of this slide. I work for UKTI, and I'm here to help British companies export their goods out to the Middle East. My particular background is doing business with Iran. I thought I'd copy and paste a brief statement about Iran off our UKTI government website that shows clearly that we're supporting opportunities with the lifting of sanctions that are available to UK companies, and there's a lot more information under this frequently asked questions there for if anybody wants to go through that. How big is Iran? I thought I'd put a map up. Iran is roughly about the same size of Germany, France, Italy and Spain put together. It's a very large country. It's the second largest country in the Middle East in terms of population and industrial power. It's also the second largest producer in OPEC, with the fourth largest oil reserves in the world and the second largest gas reserves. What does today's Iran look like after many years of sanctions? I went to the top of that particular tower and thought I'd take a couple of photographs. Tehran as a city nestles in the Alborz Mountains, which are for most of the year snow-capped. It's 1 mile above sea level, and is a huge city of some nearly 20 million people. By population terms, that puts it bigger than any European city on the map and the second largest city in the Middle East. How has the country performed after sanctions and where it was? Hello Brian, thank you very much for standing in earlier. Like the haircut. Okay, so in 2011 Iran had inflation running at 28%. That went up to 45%, came down after the election of Hassan Rouhani, their popular president, to 15%, and last year came down, they say, to close to single digits. However, you can see the problem with economic growth. At minus 6% at one point only a couple of years ago. With the new reformist government, that's increasing now and is expected to gain more ground now that sanctions have been properly lifted in the country. Unemployment is remaining a bit sticky, and the government's hoping for lots of foreign investment to start the economy properly. The big driver in that will be oil production. Oil production currently is running at 1.2 million barrels per day. By this time next year, the Iranian government wants that to get up to 3.5 million barrels a day. That's a big step up. Also, the production of gas, although it's called non-oil products on here, Iran wants to increase gas production by tenfold. And become a main supplier of gas to Europe. Why am I standing here talking to you about Iran, you might wonder? 16 years ago I was an exporter. I went down to Iran, took part in an exhibition. This was my stand. I had 2 chairs and a small table. I was hoping people would come along and see me. And I put up a few brochures. I realised that a year later I could go down there and put a product on the stand. People came along, bought into it, and we sold 2 years after that 3.5 million euros worth of Hyster forklift trucks. I was a little cleverer in those days. This is the main entrance to the exhibition, so anybody that came in and out walked past our forklift truck. I had some help. I looked a bit younger in that picture as well. In the centre is Lord Temple Maurice. He was at the time the British government trade envoy. The other people are trade advisors at the TAI from UKTI and government and a country specialist. And we're a huge amount of help then. A year later, I found a partner in the country. We developed a joint venture. Please come in from outside. It's warm, it's not raining. So we had an even bigger stand. This time we had 10 forklift trucks on there, 2 on this side, another 4 on the other, and some on the main entrance. The joint venture worked really well. We were introduced as part of one of the Overseas Market Introduction Survey, OMIS, services that UKTI offers for companies, and we can help you in this respect today. This is a picture showing the absolutely gorgeous British Embassy in Tehran. One of the networking receptions. You get a lot of Iranian businessmen coming along, and there's superb networking opportunities to actually meet people in a real life situation. One of the key things that you'll find about Iranians is they're very curious about your product. They'll want to come over here and visit you. They'll want to travel around, visit the factories. These are some people coming over to visit the JCB factory in Staffordshire. I moved on from forklift trucks and ended up with some even bigger toys. This particular year we had an exhibition for rock crushing machinery. This was the stand. We took down one rock crushing machine. Each one is basically the size of the UKTI stand over there. They weigh 40 tons. So it's quite a big piece of machinery, costing $500,000 a go. So we had 3 customers who were interested in buying. The first customer turned up and bought the machine. The other 2 customers turned up the next day and said, "Why have you sold it to them and not me?" This is the rock crushing site down in Esfahan, where they're building the motorway for cars going from Esfahan to Tehran. And each machine is part of a set of 3. You buy into one, you need the other 2. In total, that's $1.5 million worth of British exports, all because I took one machine down and put it on the stand worth $500,000. It's a big investment, but the benefit with exhibition stands is that you take your goods down with a carnet. If you don't sell them at the stand, you don't pay any import duty, and you can take them all the way back to the UK again. In Iran, import duties are quite high. So if you bring in, for example, this type of machinery, you're paying 20% import duty on $1.5 million. Comes to be quite a few bob. So having clients down there want to see a machine, they want to be able to touch it and feel it and realise it's there, and once they can see and understand it's there, then they'll buy into it. They don't want to look at a nice colourful brochure and say to you, "Okay, well, I'm interested in buying that, when will it be here?" And you say, "Well, 4 months for shipment, 4 months for production, 1 month for shipment, and 1 month to clear customs, and it'll arrive at your site. But by the way, there's no finance for the country, we want the payment up front." It won't work. So you have to find something in the middle that bridges the gap. The interesting thing with that particular client was that in the top left-hand corner, it's not a very good picture, I apologise. It's a picture of an asphalt plant. So after the client produces his aggregate from crushing rock, he then was building roads, and he wanted to mix the aggregate with asphalt to be able to lay it. And while he was over in the UK, he asked us if we knew of an asphalt plant manufacturer. So we took him along to one of those, and he bought their plant off us as well. At the end of the day, once you build a relationship with these people, as a British exporter, it's worth maximising that and not just saying, I can only supply you with what we do, what else would you like? At the bottom, this is where our forklift trucks were moving around steel coils in the for Mubarak Steel. We ended up getting a service contract on the overhead gantry cranes, and we ended up working with Tata Steel, whose plant in West Wales is under review at the moment, but we actually exported quite a lot of their steel coils down there, and hopefully will again in the future. So, what will you expect if you actually go down to Tehran? There are many trade missions going. British Iran Chamber of Commerce have got a mission going down at the end of July. The Middle East Association have a mission there at the moment. This was my mission. I took down there in October, and this is what our missioners are all on this side of the table. On the other side of the table are the recipients of the mission from the Tehran Chamber of Commerce. You'll be in amongst some wonderfully huge conference rooms and facilities. Each person will be asked to make a pitch about what their products are. After this, the main doors opened up at the back, and we had networking facilities for about 100 different companies all came in to see us. And this is what Tehran Chamber of Commerce's offices in Tehran look like. It's a huge building. In Iran, it's law that every company must belong to a Chamber of Commerce. So a Chamber of Commerce is a good place to start at if you want them to link you with companies that could be your potential partners or customers. To also do the rounds, we went round to the Bank of Industry and Mines, which is the main government bank providing finance for a lot of projects in the country. They did a nice presentation for us telling us about how free trade zones are available for companies who want to invest in the country. One of the wonderful things about Iran is that as a foreign company, you can set up your own business in Iran without having a local partner. If you want to set up a business in Dubai, you've got to surrender 51% to your Dubai partner and give away 51% of the profits. In Iran, the company can be 100% yours. And if you want to ship your goods over and hold them in free trade zones, they have them spread around the country, and then special economic zones around the country for industrial production that doesn't pay import duty. Hello Fahang, how are you? Don't ask me to start at the beginning, please. Oh, well, you do, okay. One of the really good, clever things that the Iranian government has done is that any foreign companies who want to invest in the country are protected under the Foreign Investment Protection Act. So they're able to get the benefit of tax exemption for between 5 to 10 or up to 20 years in free trade zones. You're also available to receive up to 70% financial facility supports for exportable products. And you only have to be able to qualify to do that to get 20 or 30% of your total products in Iran to be exported. So different projects and opportunities that there are around the country are in refineries. We talked about the growth in the oil sector earlier and the gas sector earlier, which will drive foreign exchange coming into the Iranian economy. These are available in free trade zones, also in Chabahar, close to just south of Afghanistan, where they're building new petrochemicals and steel mills, and Asaluye in the centre of the country, which is the main gas production site on the South Pars field. Upstream of fuel production, Iran has got many petrochemical sites producing polypropylene, polyethylene, and different HDB products, as well as different terminals. You can see how much at the bottom, $8 billion is needed in future investment. This is where Iran as a country is looking to get investments from overseas. Different power plants around the country are a lot, all in production. They're looking now not just for people to produce the plants, but put in place the power production packs themselves from companies like Rolls-Royce and Siemens. There's a huge need as well in Iran for potable drinking water, so there's a big future capacity for desalination plants. Unlike in Europe, where we seem to be reducing our steel mills, Iran is around the 11th largest steel producer in the world, with huge iron ore reserves. And in the future, over the next 10 years, they're producing huge growth in that industry. The products from the steel mills are being used to build new cities and also drive Iran's car production, which was in 2010 at 1.7 million cars a year, at the time which was larger than the UK's car production facilities. New infrastructure projects. I talked about the road links, which is currently being built from Tehran to Esfahan. There's also a high-speed rail link from Tehran to Esfahan, as well as Tehran to Mashhad, which are the other two main cities. They're also expanding their logistic networks in Esfahan and Ahwaz and down in the ports in the south. There are also multiple airports being built. Imam Khomeini Airport is due to increase its capacity hugely. For those of you who live in London, we've all gone through whether Heathrow Airport's going to have a new terminal or Gatwick's going to have a new terminal. Sorry, a new runway. In London, we have a population of 15 million people. We've got 5 airports with around 10 terminals. In Tehran, you have 20 million people with 1 international airport and 1 terminal. So they have some grounds for expansion. Especially with sanctions being relieved and the economy moving back into growth. Other opportunities is Tehran has its own underground network, which is being expanded. The automotive industry that I talked about is there. Pharmaceuticals, food processing, even healthcare. We're lucky today. Farhang is at the back. Please say hello. Anybody who's interested in the Iranian medical sector should have a talk to him. He's a fountain of knowledge and will be driving UK companies. Yes, you are. Okay, so one of the big questions that's come up is, how is all of this going to be paid for? There's a lot of discussion about which British banks can work, and there's a lot of work that the British government's doing to try and get banks on side to do business with Iran. From Iran's perspective, it's got a national development fund, government budget allocations. They have 100 billion US dollars of frozen assets overseas, and there's negotiation of those being returned. UKEF are sitting quietly with a big smile on their face at the back, who do provide financial services to Iran, and there's a very big meeting tomorrow with John Kerry coming to London to talk about finance for Iran. Did you know about that? One of the things a lot of people don't talk about very much is retail in Iran. One of my friends used to be an Iranian iron ore exporter. Since the price of iron ore plummeted a couple of years ago, he decided to focus his efforts in retail. So he's building this shopping centre in North Tehran, which is due to be completed at the end of this year. It's a private initiative, no government involvement, and will open later this year. And there's a retail conference going on in Iran later on this year with lots of major brands. House of Fraser were in Tehran last week. Right, well, this was the staff from my old office 6 years ago. They have birthday parties like everybody else does. You bring a cake into the office. And they were all very happy to come along and take part in that. Only thing I would warn people of is don't go to Tehran in January, February or March, because this is what the weather's like. Don't think of it as a Middle East country that's very warm, hot and sunny. In the winter it's very cold and frosty and wet. This is where I get normally more reaction. Any questions? So the question is, are there OMIS facilities for Iran? Currently UKTI have one member of staff in Tehran, Emily Cloak, she's the Director of Trade. One person isn't able to do OMISs. We're looking to do them later in the year. In the meantime, the British Iran Chamber of Commerce are able to do OMIS services for you, and I can give you the contact details for them. Okay? Oh, don't go already. This is where you're supposed to ask questions, not run away. Anybody else want to ask a question? You're all too shy. It is very true. Last year, Europe exported 6 billion euros worth of goods. The UK exported around 100 million, mainly in medical products. We've got a couple of big issues. One of them, our embassy is now very small because of what happened to our old embassy with the walls being jumped by protesters. Secondly, the banking sector has had pressure from the United States. People have withdrawn from that area. But we're trying to encourage people to go back there again. We're trying to encourage the banking sector to want to do more business there. And we're trying to offer companies like yourselves routes. Please come and talk to me afterwards. We can have a lot more of a meaningful discussion. And Farhang has also issued a paper on the healthcare sector in Iran in a lot of depth, which you may well be very interested in reading. Would the person with the camera like to ask a question? We're looking to take an education mission down to Iran later this year. There used to be 4 million Iranian students in the UK in British universities not that many years ago. There's a lot of Iranians who have a strong pent-up demand to come over here. One of the big things that Iran wants to do is to buy new technology from the West. Part of buying new technology is having people trained on how to use it. You can't train people on how to use it unless you bridge the language gap. So one thing automatically links directly into the other. So yes, they're all very, very tied up. We're waiting for budgets to be released from government at the moment. Inshallah, November. Okay, thank you very much everybody who's come along. Nice to have seen you.